Today for math class, guys, we have a little bit of a complicated concept to understand. We are actually starting to find the unknown number. Now, we've done a few of these before with different math equations where we're kind of finding the missing addend, but today it is a brand new concept because we're not finding the missing addend or subtractand. We're actually finding a number that is completely unknown. And notice how I'm using the letter N. So now we have introduced letters into our number equation. But really what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out what N is, or how much is N worth. So if you guys will look at the chart in the picture that I have posted below, you can see the steps to finding the unknown number, but I'm going to write them here off to the side anyway. So whenever we have a problem like this, the very first step is to solve the known. We want to make it easy for ourselves. So we have no idea what n plus 7 is, but we do know what 2 times 6 is. Do you see how there's an equal sign dividing this half of the equation and this half of the equation? So let's not worry about this half. Let's look at this side. We do know what 2 times 6 is, so let's solve the known. 2 times 6 is 12. 12. So then I do want to bring my n plus 7 down because I'm still continuing my equation. So we've got this side of the equation and now we have 12. So we solved the known. Number 2, the second step in solving or finding the unknown number is to use the opposite process. Now you're probably wondering, what in the world do I mean by that? We want to use the opposite process by getting n by itself. So in other words, we want to put n on one side of the equation by itself. We want to isolate our missing or our unknown number. So what's the opposite of adding 7? What's the opposite of adding? Subtracting. So whatever we do to this side of the equation, we have to also do to this other side to balance it out. So for example, the opposite of adding is subtracting. But remember, whatever we do to this side, we also have to do to this side. So 12 minus 7. Let's see what those equal. So 7 minus 7 is 0. So we can actually get rid of that. That just, 7 minus 7 is 0. So n plus 0 is nothing, is just n. Because n plus 0, if you have an unknown number and you add nothing, you're still going to have n. So we just bring n down here since we got rid of the 7s. But over here, what is 12 minus 7? We can count backwards. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Let's bring this down here. N equals 5. So we used the opposite process, and we also did step number 3, which is to solve. You want to solve the problem. We did both steps because we used the opposite process to get rid of the 7 on this side because it's just 0. It went to 0, so we can just completely get rid of it. And we solved it. 12 minus 7 is 5. So n equals 5. The last step in finding the unknown number is to check our work. We want to make sure that 5 really is n, that n is 5. So the way that we figure this out, or the way that we check, is we just plug 5 into our equation. So in other words, instead of saying n, now that we know what n is, we could just say 5 plus 7 equals 2 times 6. Do you think that's correct? Let's see. So I'm just going to plug 5 in for n. 5 plus 7 equals 2 times 6. Is that correct? Let's see. Well, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that equals 12. And 2 times 6 equals 12. Does 12 equal 12? Yes, we are finished. Let's try one more. N, that's our missing number or our unknown, completely unknown number, plus 9 equals 6 times 2. Okay, my friends, number 1, the first step is what? You've got it. We want to solve the known. Let's make it easy on ourselves. We have no idea what this half of the equation is. We have no idea what 9 or n plus 9 is, so let's go over to this side of the equation. We do know what 6 times 2 is. That's 12. So let's just bring everything else down. N plus 9 equals 12. Okay, so we did step 1. Step 2 is use the opposite process. The opposite process. Okay, so if we have adding 9, remember we're trying to get n by itself. We want to put n on one side of the equation by itself. So I'm trying to get rid of 9 on this side. If I'm adding 9, what could I do? What's the opposite of addition? You guessed it, subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 9 from this side of the equation, but remember, whatever I do to this side of the equation, I also have to do to this side of the equation. So if I'm subtracting 9 here, I also have to subtract 9 on this side. Okay, so we did that. Number 3, step 3 in our process is to solve the problem. Okay, so what is 9 minus 9? You guessed it, 0. So we can completely get rid of the 9s on this side. What's 12 minus 9? We can count forward, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3. So since the 9s are completely gone from this side of the equation, they're gone, completely gone. We now know that n equals 3. So the very last step in finding the unknown number is to check. We want to make sure that 3 really is n. We want to make sure that n equals 3. So can't we just plug 3, now that we think it's 3, can't we just plug that back into the original equation to see if they equal out? Let's plug it back in. So instead of saying n plus 9, I'm going to say 3 plus 9 because we think that n equals 3. 3 plus 9 equals 6 times 2. Let's check. Well, we know that 6 times 2 is 12. But what's 3 plus 9? 9, 10, 11, 12. Does 12 equal 12? Are they equal on both sides of the equation? Yes. N is 3.